I rise to speak on the Online Safety, Relief and Accountability Bill, not merely as legislation, but as an assertion of how we wish our digital society to function, justly, humanely, and with room for redemption. Let me start with a scenario many Singaporeans will recognize. Suppose a person commits a crime, the courts hear the evidence, the verdict is pronounced, sentence is spent. That is where justice should end. Yet far too often, the second sentence is delivered online by self-appointed vigilantes. Almost immediately, commenters weave threats of public shaming, images, addresses, workplaces, friends, all exposed, shared, argued about. This is not journalism or public interest. It is doxing, harassment, digital mob justice. In Singapore, we already see the signs. According to She Cares at SCWO, victims of doxing have risen from 13 in 2023 to 32 in 2024. Harassment and cyberbullying cases rose from 48 to 80 in the same period. Applications to the Protection from Harassment Court have increased steadily from 346 in 2021 to 520 in 2020, 526 in 2023, and 631 in 2024. One legal practitioner recounted a man in his 30s with mild autism, whose personal traits, speech, appearance, and insecurities were relentlessly attacked online in gaming communities. Whether or not the original crime was serious, the secondary assault online multiplies harm and deepens exclusion. The burden doesn't fall evenly. The person who already faces legal consequences now must contend with perpetual digital scrutiny, unable to move forward even after paying their dues. And sometimes the person targeted online is not even guilty at all. In 2020, many will remember the case of the woman who refused to wear a mask at Shun Fu Mat and claimed to be a sovereign. The video went viral almost instantly. In the rush to identify her, online users wrongly accused another woman of being that person. Within hours, her photographs, company details, and even the names of her colleagues were posted across social media. She and the firm faced a barrage of racist and xenophobic abuse, even though she had absolutely nothing to do with that incident. The victim later described feeling bewildered and frightened, a bystander suddenly thrust into the center of a public storm. It was a textbook case of doxing and mistaken identity, and it showed how quickly online outrage can spill over into real harm, even for those completely uninvolved. If this is what can happen to an innocent person, imagine what happens to someone who has actually made a mistake, served their sentence, and is trying to move on. We already have laws against doxing in Singapore. Amendments to the Protection from Harassment Act make it an offense to publish someone's details with intent to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. And yet, enforcement is limited. The Singapore Police Force, SPF, investigated fewer than 10 cases of doxing in the first 4 months of a recent year. Why the gap? Because doxing often lies in a gray area, where exposure is legal, example, a court report, but the layering of personal data and commentary turns exposure into attack. It tests the limits of what law can do alone. That's where this new bill is crucial. It gives victims stronger recourse and empowers the Commissioner to put across platforms to remove or restrict content, require the right of reply, or label harmful material. I return to the question, when someone serves their sentence, should society still punish them? When does justice become vengeance? Worse still, when harm hides under Worse still, when harm hides under the guise of public interest or fair comment. If a so-called fair comment is sent repeatedly every day to a victim, their family, or their employer, it ceases to be comment. It becomes harassment. We must be clear about where legitimate expression ends and abuse begins, and ensure that enforcement is consistent so victims do not hesitate to come forward for fear of uncertainty. If we allow perpetual online shaming, we deny redemption. We don't rehabilitate, we annihilate futures. Employers, neighbors, friends, all filtered by search results, by rumors, by what the digital crowd decided to publish. This bill helps guard against that unending sentence. It lets courts and the commissioner intervene. It says the past does not have to be a life sentence in the digital realm. Mr. Deputy Speaker, while I support the bill, I would like to offer 3 modest suggestions for its implementation. First, enforcement must be accessible. Many victims of online harm may lack the legal literacy, confidence, or financial means to approach the commissioner or file for redress. The process should therefore be simple, affordable, and trauma-informed with clear guidance and support for vulnerable groups such as youth, persons with disabilities, and lower-income users. A centralized one-stop reporting channel that connects SPF, IMDA, and the Commissioner's Office could make seeking help far less intimidating. Second, prevention must go hand in hand with enforcement. We cannot legislate empathy, but we can educate for empathy. Public campaigns and digital citizenship programs, especially in schools and workplaces, should teach not only what is illegal online, but what is unethical. It is as important to cultivate digital restraint as it is to punish digital harm. Third, we should examine the appeals framework carefully. The bill currently limits further appeals after an online safety appeal committee's decision. That finality provides efficiency, but there is a risk that victims could still face drawn-out proceedings or repeat challenges from offenders exploiting procedural loopholes. We should ensure that the appeals process is fair but finite, one that safeguards due process while sparing victims prolonged distress. In conclusion, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I support this bill, not because it is perfect, but because it is necessary. Because justice demands both accountability and mercy. Because our society should not allow people to be condemned twice, once by the court and again by the crowd. I ask that as we debate, we remember those caught in the crossfire of legal punishment and digital vengeance and build protections so that justice ends where it should. Thank you.